Welcome back to Say No To Lashon Hara, day 29. This episode has been sponsored anonymously, and the entire series is being done as a zechut for refuah shlema for Chana Bat Simafega. Now, we already know about the destructive power of Lashon Hara in terms of the fact that you're saying something negative. Let's change the perspective for a second into the mindset of the person who's actually listening to you speak badly about somebody. They may have had either a good opinion of them, a negative opinion of them, or a ambivalent opinion of them. But one thing is for sure, and that is that after they finished hearing you speak, they are sure that they have a lowered opinion of that person. So wherever they were before, they are now considerably lower on the respect stage of the way they look at this person. So you've literally damaged that person's reputation. Now, imagine if instead of speaking this way to someone one-on-one, you speak in a group of people, 5 people are there. Well, you've damaged the person's reputation times 5. If you're speaking to 20 people, then to a whole group. If you're speaking in front of 100 people at a graduation and you make a sly joke about someone or a certain place, then you've spoken Lashon Hara times 100 because you've damaged the reputation times 100. And the unfortunate truth is that people don't bother oftentimes to check out whether or not you're correct. They automatically just kind of discredit the person in their mind. Maybe not 100% because they're not 100% sure, but as an example, if they had to now choose between doing business with this person or hanging out with that person or going to synagogue with that person, joining that person for a shidduch, they're automatically going to be thinking twice before they act because, you know what, I heard negative things about the person without actually verifying it at all. Now, the Chafetz Chaim addresses a common misconception. There's a law in the Talmud that says that something that is said be'apet lata, which means in front of 3 people in public, that's not Lashon Hara. So some people think that that means that so long as I didn't say it to 1 or 2 people, I said it to 3 people, or to 5 people, or to 10 people, I said it to a whole crowd of people, then that's not Lashon Hara. When, according to what we just said, actually, the more people that hear it, the worse of a sin it is. So which is it? Is it a worse sin if more people hear it? Or is it actually allowed because it's said in front of 3 people? The Chafetz Chaim goes to great pains to explain that this idea of apet lata is actually misunderstood. It's a specific idea that is relevant in a specific case. So he gives an example of what that means. Let's say a person gives a statement about someone that might be avak lashon hara. The example he gives is the famous example of avak lashon hara, which means the dust of lashon hara. It's not perhaps lashon hara proper, but it's adjacent to lashon hara. The classic case of the Gemara is if a person says that this house, the furnace is always going, you might mean that the person has a lot of guests, or you might mean that this person never stops eating. So we don't know if that's a negative or a positive statement. Besides for that, the Talmud also says that it might be avak lashon hara because then, even if people assume that he's having lots of guests, many people might flock to this person, and then he won't have the money to be able to sustain this massive flow of guests that has come his way because you've told people how generous he is, and that's called avak lashon hara. However, back to this case. I speak about someone, I say his furnace is always going. It's hard to know, did I mean that in a negative way or in a positive way? This is where the Talmud says, if I say it in front of 1 or 2 people, where I'm not worried it's going to get back to the guy in question, it's probably the case that I didn't mean it in a negative way. So something which is ambivalent, it's not necessarily derogatory. We're not sure, did you mean it in a nasty way, or maybe you even giving a compliment. If you say it in front of 1 or 2 people, it might mean that you were trying to keep it private or quiet. You didn't want the person hearing what you'd said about them. So then it would be avak lashon hara. But if you say it in front of 3 people, where you know that in front of 3 people, the likelihood of this getting back to him is almost 100%, that's just the nature of people. Everybody, as the Talmud says, chavra de chavrach, chavra itle, which means the friend of your friend also has a friend. So if you say it in front of three people, it's really likely it'll get back to him. And if you were saying something like this, we kind of decide based on the fact that the person's going to find out that it's probably the lesser of the two, which is either a non-negative statement or maybe even a positive one. But that's only true about something which is a avak lashon hara, or a question mark about what you meant. If you say something which is absolutely derogatory, it doesn't make a difference how many people you say it in front of, it's still lashon hara. And as we just finished explaining, not only is it lashon hara, it could be lashon hara to the 10th power, because you said it in front of 10 people. 20 people times 20, 100 people times 100. So this idea of apetlata, the Chafetz Chaim goes to great lengths to explain that that's not what it's telling you can do, so that, a person doesn't make this mistake. I've heard people say this, and probably you have too. This is not lashon hara. I would shout this from the rooftops. I would say it in front of anyone. That doesn't mean that it's not lashon hara. In fact, if you did it that way, you might be magnifying your damaging words to lashon hara and the character assassination that happens when it is said in that way.